Hey, welcome to your Aquarius horoscopes for the week of November 26th through December 2nd, which means we are entering the last month of the year this week. Crazy. At least I think it is. They were not wrong when they said, my parents and the adults when I was growing up said that every year goes by so much faster when you're an adult, and it just seems like it's actually, I saw a meme on Facebook that was totally absolutely true, that it said that it felt like this was the fastest year that ever went by and the slowest at the same time, and that is the truth. It seems like it's dragged on forever, and yet we're speeding by all at the same time, which is scientifically impossible. But I totally agree. That's exactly how it's been feeling for sure. We still have no planets in Aquarius currently, right now. We still have our little bookend as planets, is what's going on. But we are really falling into focus on self and falling into focus on self on a much deeper level. We're talking our emotional selves. I know it's really scary. I just saw every single one of you go and then jump underneath the covers and hide, because I feel the exact same way as you guys do. It's a common misconception that Aquarians are non-emotional, and that's not true. We feel things very deeply, much more deeply, I think, than most people give us credit for. But we don't go around wearing it on our sleeves necessarily. And I feel like for many, many, many people, that's why we are so misunderstood. There's, in a world full of people that are going on and on about their feelings, we don't do that. Feelings are just, yeah, they're there, they're private, they're for dealing with later. We're in public right now. Put your feelings away, kind of a thing. At least that's how I see it. But it is interesting, and this is popping in my head to share with you guys, so I'm going to do it. What was interesting about being an Aquarian mother specifically was that several years ago, over 10 years ago now, when my husband's grandfather was in the transition from a living life to a non-living life, it was very difficult for the whole family. And my youngest son was a child when this was taking place. He had to have been about 10 or 11 years old at the time. And he was lashing out and being difficult, as kids do when they are faced with a very heavy emotional thing and they don't know how to deal with that. And I sat there with him, and in talking about the situation with the grandfather, I started to cry. And when I started to cry, he turned and looked at me. At first, he was like, and then I started to cry, and he looked at me like the whole time. And it was that moment that I realized this child has never seen me cry. And that's not a good thing at all, because what I taught him was that you're not supposed to do that, that is wrong. And that was not my intention to teach him that at all. And so I made some choices that were not exactly comfortable for me, to be a little bit more open emotionally around them specifically. Everybody else, forget it. That's just not gonna, I mean, it only happens by accident. We'll just put it that way. It only happens by accident. So a couple of things here. We do have the influences of Saturn and Pluto. Pluto, not so much. We'll feel that influence a little bit more here in the next few weeks or so. Saturn continues to be really on that cusp of Pisces and Aquarius. It's technically in Pisces, but it is very much on that cusp there. And Saturn's focus is on self and personal responsibility, something that every single person, no matter what sign they are, really needs to pay attention to: personal responsibility. I don't think that I hate to sound judgy here. I mean, come on, Aquarius, we are kind of judgy, but I don't like to sound judgy when I say this, but it is the absolute truth. I don't feel that people are taking personal responsibility seriously enough these days. I hear a lot of, I'm having this problem, and it's all somebody else's fault. And not ever looking at what they should be doing to fix this problem. Even if part of fixing the problem means getting away from the people that keep causing the problem, that's still part of your personal responsibility, even if you are not contributing, an active contributor to the problem. So personal responsibility is very, very important. Saturn is in a grand sextile with Mercury and Jupiter. Mercury's focus is on career, while Jupiter's focus is on the past. What's interesting about this is we don't want to repeat the same mistakes in the past, obviously. We can take some ideas from the past, but ideas that were successful. We don't want to do the same thing we did before and get the same results, especially if they weren't successful, if that makes sense. So really, it's sort of telling us, I feel that when you're having issues with in a specific direction, it's time to change it and stop trying to go to push in a direction that's not working, if that makes sense. And this is actually kind of funny to me, really, because I feel like I've lived my whole entire life this year like that. Like I have been trying desperately to find the solution that's going to give me the quick fix that I want, when really what I need to do is focus my time on my business, which is what I should be doing all the time, right? And I get sidetracked and I get, sidetracked by emotional stuff. And because I insist on hiding that from everybody else, it takes me out of making money and doing what I need to be doing. And it's a vicious cycle that has kept going for a long time. It's in the past. This is one of those instances where it's time to look at what you did in the past. Great. Were you successful in the past? Great. You can take some ideas from that, but don't expect it to be the same. We don't live in the same world anymore, unfortunately. I mean, this is a little bit extreme, okay? But things and decisions that I made in the 90s that were a good idea are not going to be the same now in 2023 or even going into 2024. It's literally a whole different world from when I grew up versus what it is now, right? So we have to grow with the times. We have to grow with technology, which is not an easy thing for most people. Although, on a technicality, those of us born in my generation are set in a perfect place because we grew up with the old way of things, but we also grew up with the new, as the seeds were being planted for the technology to be what it is today. So we literally are a generation of kids that grew up with one foot on each side. And that gives us a lot of power, right? And instead of slipping into, say, the problems that our parents had where the technology was too far advanced for them, we have the opportunity to be able to understand where they're coming from, but also to understand where the younger generations are coming from as well. It really is a very powerful place if we choose to use that power. My generation, by the way, is the Gen X generation, the very, very tiny little generation in between the baby boomers and the millennials that often gets overlooked because it's literally a handful of years. And that's pretty much it. So looking back to that, we always want to take inspiration from the past, but we do not want to repeat past mistakes. And we do not want to get ourselves stuck in a loop where we continue to do the same thing and expect it to be different next time, because obviously if you've done that once, twice, even 3 times, and um without a different outcome, it's not going to happen. We got to stop wasting our time and thinking that we're just so brilliant that we're going to make it happen. It's not that we're not brilliant. Actually, our brilliance is in not doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. We're not using the brilliance in the right way. That's what that's all about. Also, Saturn is in a bit of a square with Mars. Mars is focused on long-term goals. Now, that being said, Mars is a lot of energy going into long-term goals. Being responsible for those goals is really important. If you don't take responsibility for your actions and what you're doing, you're never going to get anywhere. And this is really what this square is all about. You can put all the energy you want into it, but if you're not owning up to what you're doing that is not helping, if you're not changing what you're doing that isn't helping, you're just wearing yourself out. So really this challenge is sort of coming up to say, hey, basically show you that running around in circles chasing your butt like a dog isn't helping. Yeah, it may look like you're doing something, but you're not getting anywhere. Change it. Stop running around in circles and try a different direction. And you keep trying a different direction until you find the one that works for you, because that's the only way to succeed, basically. So that's what I have for you guys this week. If you love your horoscopes, do consider sending a tip or donation to my coffee link, which is in the description of this video. I appreciate all the support that you guys have given me this year. I do definitely appreciate those donations. They definitely help me continue to provide this service to you guys for free. And not charging for it, and that's probably never going to happen. Just so you know, I enjoy giving this service away for free, but I do appreciate the appreciation every single time I get it. It really does make me feel good. So thank you. I love you guys. I am looking forward to continuing this, and for sure appreciate all of the appreciation that you guys give. I'm Melissa Bruce, the Heavy Metal Psychic. I will see you guys next week. In the meantime, you guys, come on. Between you and me, we're the best ones of the zodiac. And we cannot be the best if we're not utilizing all of our intelligence in the right way. Think about that. You guys have a great week. I will see you guys next week. Kick some butt.